Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created this fall wreath for my mother-in-law's front door. Alright everyone, so I have on my table here lots of items here. Some of these are leftover flowers and greenery from other projects that I have done. So I'm going to be using a lot of this to decorate my wreath. Now behind me here on the wall, I already have a clean grapevine wreath. And by clean, I mean that I actually cleaned it because this is a wreath that was already decorated. It already had some sunflowers on there and it was perfect. And normally what I do is I just transform an existing wreath into another season, but it had some apples and grapes and some lemons on there, which I didn't feel went with the fall theme, so I ended up taking that off. And so since I took that off, and of course I took the bow off as well, I ended up removing everything off of it because I found out that the wreath was actually quite dirty. I had it in my garage and it had cat hairs and all kinds of stuff in it, so I had to just take everything off, clean everything, and I ended up taking it outside. I used the broom to sweep out as much as I could. I got a little brush and I got into the little crevices as best as I could, and I got a lot of cat hair out of it. And then I actually took the hose and I hosed it down, and then I left it out in the sun to dry. So that is what I had to do to prepare this. And then I even had this room freshener. You don't have to do that. It's a lemon scent. I would have preferred if I had something that smelled like pumpkin spice, but just for the heck of it, because sometimes things have that little bit of a dusty, musky smell. And my item's been in the garage for like 5 years, you guys. I hadn't used this wreath. So I just spray that with some sort of a scent, or if you want to hide like a little potpourri packet in there somewhere, go right ahead and do so. Okay, so that's where I'm starting. I'm reusing an existing wreath. This is going to go in my mother-in-law's front door. It's going to be outside, so I don't mind reusing something. Okay, so also I have this, and I have here a garland. Now this garland it is not being reused. It's still new. I never used it. I bought it to put outside in my front porch. I made a video and I think I even showed you the garlands, and I'm going to put this somewhere out there. And you know what? In that process, I never took it outside and I never used it. So it's still in here. So I think it's great that I have it left over because it's a perfect example of how you can decorate something for fall really quick, really easy with a garland. So I'm going to use that. And that particular garland, I bought it at a store called At Home. And I think I paid like $5 for it. Okay, but you can find stuff like that like at Walmart. You can find it at Hobby Lobby. You're just going to find different price points, so that is up to you what you want to spend. Okay, and I have this little sign here. It's a little pumpkin that says thankful and blessed. I got this from the Dollar Tree. I thought it would be really pretty. Look at that. It fits perfectly right in the middle. So I'm going to use that. I've got the sunflowers that were already on the wreath. I have a whole bunch of them. And so I just took, like I said, I took everything off and I cleaned it off as best as I could. I just found a hair. But anyways, but I do have more sunflowers in my basket here. I have these that are really pretty. And then I have these from the Dollar Tree, which I can combine with these if I feel like I need more flowers. I have these other flowers that are also left over from another arrangement to just give it a little more of a special look. And I've got these, and then of course I've got some greenery, and I've got some fern that has a brown fall look to it, so it's perfect. My greenery that I have here, I purchased especially for fall because I like to have greenery, but this one actually has like a maroon tones in it, and I really like it, so it goes really well with fall. I also have little pumpkins here. I just dropped one, excuse me. I have some little pumpkins here, and like I said, the wreath had some fruit on it and it wasn't going to go with my pumpkin, so I'm going to use these and I'll show you how to prepare them. I have a fall ribbon here. Really, you can use burlap or any other ribbon that you happen to like for your fall decor. So I have that, and that is also okay, so I got that at Hobby Lobby some time ago, and I still have some left on the roll here, so I feel like that's perfectly enough to make a bow. A lot of my flowers, like I said, some were from the Dollar Tree, some from Hobby Lobby, some from other stores like At Home. All these little pumpkins you can find at any dollar store also. Okay, I've got my tools, which scissors, wire cutters. I've got my hot glue gun sticks. I've got some floral wire in case I want to tie anything down. I also have a chenille stem to make my bow. I could also use the floral wire. And then I've got these little wooden picks that I can use into my little pumpkins to stick them into my wreath, and I'll show you how I do that. It's very easy, I've already shown you that before. I don't know if I showed you this also. Did I mention the little sign? I got it at the Dollar Tree. I thought this is perfect because my mother-in-law likes things that, that are very say like bless and things like that. So anyway, we're gonna get started because I just realized that I did show you that. So we're gonna get started with our wreath. So let's get to it. All right, so we're gonna get to crafting, you guys. This little pumpkin plaque here, I can hang it from the wreath. It's got a little bit of rope here, and I can just tie that onto the grapevine wreath. But just to make sure that it doesn't flop around a lot, so let's say, because it gets really windy here in Texas, and my mother-in-law has a field in front of her home, so she gets that north wind blowing. So I don't want this thing to just be flopping around, making a lot of noise on her front door. So we're gonna put some wire behind it on the sides here to make sure that it doesn't do that, so we can tie it down from here. And because the pumpkin is wide enough, you know, to fill in the empty space of my wreath, it'll work perfectly fine, and we're not even gonna see that. But even still, you could put wire and you won't see it. I think I'm gonna use maybe like 6 or 8 inches of wire. And all I'm gonna do is just bend it in the middle. And then I'm going to put them at the sides here. It's super easy. You can put one at the bottom as well if you want. And then just put a little puddle of glue and make sure that's in there. And then we're gonna let this dry up so that this is nice and firm on there and it doesn't come off. Okay, so just making sure that it is into the wire really well. It's saturating it really well. Okay, we're gonna let that dry and we're gonna go to the next step, which is putting this on our wreath. All right, so the wire is now dry on here, and I can go ahead and use it to wire it onto my wreath. And I also went ahead and put a little piece of wire on this little rope bit up here on the top, so I can go ahead and tie it from there as well. Okay, so I want this to hang about right here. So I want to go ahead and wire this on. Okay, once I have it tied up as much as I need, I can go ahead and cut off the excess ends, and then I can tie the sides as well. And like I said, if you put one on the bottom, you could also tie it up there as well. So I'm just wiring it on this side, and then I'll do the other side, and then I'll hang it back on the wall and we'll continue decorating it. Okay, so I've got this hanging on the wall so I can continue decorating it, but what I've also been doing is I've been pulling out some of the grapevine twigs here a little bit outward. If I have to use my wire cutters, I can cut some pieces just to give it more of a little bit of a messy look, if you will, more rustic. And I think that looks really good, just like that. Okay, you can do it as much as you want or as little as you want. Okay, now if any of the little pieces, when you're cutting them, if they fall out, just use a little bit of hot glue and glue it back in place. All right, so now I've got this garland here that I want to put around the perimeter of my wreath. So I want this hanging around like that. And this is the easiest way just to decorate something, is to use an existing garland and just put it straight up on the wreath. I'm going to go ahead and use some floral wire. So I'm just going to cut little pieces of floral wire to help me tie my garland around. So I'm going to start at one end of the garland. And it's got a little loop on here. If you didn't have that, I could just start somewhere over here and tie it on here, and then tie it onto my wreath. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off this, actually. This little end here. Just let that go. And put some wire around it on the end there, and then I can use that to wire onto my wreath. So I'm just going to start right here. I'm actually going to put a bow right here, so when I come back around I don't have to finish all the way if I don't have enough garland, for example. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take more little pieces of wire and use it to tie it down to the wreath as I go around, just so that it doesn't flop on me. And I want to make sure I also doesn't pull over and be like that. I want it to stay like so. So I want to wire it here, here, over here somewhere, again, over here, and then cut it right where it starts to meet up here, and then wire that down. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the easiest way to do this once you've got this first end tied down is to get your little piece of wire and then put it through the grapevine so that you know that you're at least catching that. Bring up the ends and then put this right in the middle between the two ends, and then tie them up, and then just fold those little sharp ends into the wreath, like fold them in and poke them into the wreath like that, so they're not sticking out, so that if you touch it again you don't poke yourself. Okay, I'm going to move up and add another one right about here. As a matter of fact, if you're afraid that it's going to fall off, twist it a couple of times. Leave the ends open. Bring your garland and then tie it. Okay, so I'm coming to the end, and here I have this little bit left over, so I'm going to cut it right here. Like I said, I'm going to put a bow right there, so I'm going to cut it about right here. And then I have this little bit left over. I can use it for another project, or if I want to cut it in half, add a little more leaves here, a little more leaves on this side, I can go ahead and do so. Okay, so I'm just going to tie that very last bit. Because it's the end, I'm going to tie it around that first. And then I'm also making sure that any leaves don't get like caught underneath, you know, the garland wire. Like bring them out. Let's see, right here we can tie it onto this little bit. Okay. So just make sure there isn't any leaves that are caught underneath the garland here. Just pop them out. Make sure that it looks pretty and poofy. And look at that. That looks really pretty just like that. We just need a little bow here. And that's the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the bow that we can put right in the middle. Okay, so here's my ribbon, and I'm going to do just a short little ribbon, little tail coming off of the bow. So I'm just going to pinch it there, twist my ribbon so that I always have the pretty side up. It's hard to tell on this, but because this is the outer part that's rolled up, I'm using that as the right side of the ribbon. And I'm going to make about 8 inches here and make a loop. Pinch and twist. Make another loop. Match them up. Pinch, twist. And just make as many loops as you want. Okay, so I don't have very much ribbon left here, so I'm going to make one more loop. And then I'll take my chenille stem and wrap around and twist my ribbon so that it tightens up right here rather than this just getting all twisted together. Okay, so now I can just take my ends and trim them nicely. And I got 5 loops, but it doesn't matter because it's a little round bow here, and then I can just direct the loops in whatever direction, so it doesn't matter if you have 3 on one side and 2 on the other and so forth. So it's okay to have some odd numbered loops. So here we go. This is now ready. I'm going to use these ends of my chenille stem to wrap around my grapevine just like I did the other wires for the garland. Alright, so I've tied my bow onto my wreath, and as you can see, this is a pretty complete wreath. If you want to just keep it simple, just a little bit of a garland and a bow and just a little plaque if you want. You don't even have to have the plaque on there. This is perfectly fine, very simple, and that can go on your front door or anywhere inside of your home if that's where you want to put it. But I'm going to bring it over the top because I am going to give this to my mother-in-law. She just likes things that have a little bit more to them. I like a little more to it as well. So I've got these flowers that were on the wreath before, and I took them off, and I've cleaned them a bit here so they don't look bad. Actually, I've decided to do a little investigating and make sure there wasn't any little bugs that had maybe chewed on them, and there's nothing in there, and they're nice and clean, so they're perfectly fine condition, and I have 7 of them, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. And they already been cut to a nice length, so as you can see here, the stem is not very long on them. It's maybe 4-5 inches at the most of stem that we need, so we just need to put some glue on the stem so that we can stick them into our wreath in various areas. I also have these other flowers that I think I want to use, guys. I love these flowers so very much, and I think they would bring some highlight to this wreath. So I'm going to go ahead and use these 3 large flowers because that is all that I have. So I'm going to use the biggest one right here, and I want to use that one kind of like right underneath the bow here, or I could have put the bow a little bit lower and then put this on top, but I'm going to put, I directed my bow up a little high, so I'm going to actually put this flower right under here so the bow is kind of like nesting on it. And it has a long stem, and I really don't need that much length, so I'm going to trim it right above where these leaves are so that this little leaf bit becomes another stem that I could add in there. So cut it right there, and now I have this flower. So I'm going to put some glue, insert it, and I'm going to insert the other 2 on either side of it. So just some glue. And then you want to fold the stem a little bit so that your flower is facing upward. And now I'm going to direct the tails of my bow underneath it, and then just fluff the loops of the bow around the flower. So there you go. The bow kind of is crowning this flower here. All right, on to the next. This one I don't have to cut at the leaves because the leaves are pretty close to the top. They slide up actually. So there we go. I've got a nice little stem here. Plenty of glue on that. And I'm putting glue on it because I am putting this outside. This is going to go on our front door, as I said, and the wind is pretty harsh here where we're at. So I don't want the flowers flying off. There we go. And I had a little bit of the greenery from this first flower. So I'm going to tuck that right in there. I'm just going to trim a little bit of the stem. It's a little long. I don't need that much. And I want to push that in as far as I can. So I don't want the extra length of the stick maybe showing at the bottom here or poking my wall. I think that already looks really beautiful. So let's get some sunflowers in there. This is going to be so simple, you guys. Now normally when I'm doing a wreath, I don't bother with poofing up the bow. I just leave it alone and I just stick everything in there and then I poof up the bow. But I don't know, for some reason, because I know that you're looking at it and I know it might bother some of you, I'm fixing it up. I'm going to leave some room right about here for a little pumpkin. And I think I'll do the same over here. It doesn't have to be, you know, equally balanced. You could add more decoration on one side if you wanted to than you do on the other. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. Only because I know that that's kind of like what my mother-in-law likes. So I'm going to do that for her. Because I just know she's probably going to say, how come there's more on one side and there's not on the other? Or, you know, like, it's not finished. Okay, so we're going to do that. And let me go ahead and get some little pumpkins and I'll show you how I'm going to prepare them. Okay, so I've decided that I want to use these two particular pumpkins to put into my wreath here. And I could just hot glue them, just put some hot glue on there and then just stick them in there. But another way that you can do this is you can take a little stick. So I'm going to take a little wooden stick. This is a floral stick. Or you can use the bits that you cut off of stems like this here. Let me put it right there on the wall so you can see it. Right there. So you can use either one of these. Or you could actually just put some wire. And what you would do is you would cut some wire. Let me go ahead and do that. Here you can see the wire maybe against the wall here. You can take that and fold it in half. So right at the fold, let's say I want to put my pumpkin like that. So back here, melt a little hole into it because this is styrofoam. Put some glue in there. And then get that little fold and insert it into that little hole with the glue. Let's get it in there. I don't want to burn my fingers, you guys. Okay, so now that I've got it inserted in there, we'll let that dry. And then we can use that wire to tie it up onto our wreath. The other thing you can do, let's see, this one I want it kind of like that. So back here I need the little hole. So instead of putting wire, making sure that I'm holding it up into the camera. Okay, so I'm going to put a little stem, and I'm putting it kind of a little angle so I can insert it into the wreath. And then of course I would cut this because it's a little too long. Let me just trim that. Okay, so now I can go ahead and put some glue on that stem and insert it into our wreath. And there we go. And of course the other one I can just wire it down over here. Okay, so I decided to put a little stick in it. I felt like it was a whole lot easier to just insert it with some glue on it rather than to try and reach in there and tie it down. So I feel like the little stick idea works a little bit better, a little stem. Okay, so now that I have the little pumpkins that I want to put on it, and I have a few extra pumpkins so that I can go ahead and add some more. What I'm going to do before I start doing that is I'm going to add more sunflowers to this. I've still got 3 here. So maybe one on the top because I do have extra sunflowers in my little basket here, some of the little flowers. So I'm going to put one of these on the top, this nice big one here. Alright, so I decided to create a little cluster of sunflowers up here, like I have these flowers that are down here. So now I'm going to add some bits of this particular bush that I have here. I'm going to add these in there just to add this color that's down here, bring it up to our wreath, and so it's not just on the bottom. There we go. Okay, this little branch or bush that I have with these flowers also have these other different little bits in them, so I'm going to use that to decorate along the sides here to sort of come not in front of the sign because we want to be able to read it, but just to come across it a little bit. We don't want to hide the wording on it. Okay, I think it's looking great. I've got some ferns here that I would like to add as well, so I can just add those to the side. Let me just tell you real quick what I do with these, because they don't have really a stem and these little bottom parts are going to be in the way. I just trim them off, and then now I have a little stem that I have to glue so that I can insert it. Now if I feel like my leaf is too long, I'll just trim off more from the bottom, and I feel like, okay, that's enough. I don't want any more than that showing, so now I'm going to trim my stem as well. I'll use my wire cutters for that. So now I've got a shorter leaf here, and I can put some glue and insert it wherever I want in my wreath. So let me go ahead and do that. And then I added a few more of these little bits on the top here. So I've got this leftover piece of a garland, and I feel like, am I going to use it for something? I think it's got enough of the orange leaves. So let's see. I've got these green. So I'm going to take some of that. Let's see. Do we need that? I feel like I want to use it. So I'm going to cut off bits like so, some leaves like that, and then just glue them here and there in little spots where I feel like it needs something. So I just want some down here. So I put some down here. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side and add some of this green to that, but I think it's looking really good now. I'm going to add this small bit of leaves here, just right here, because I see a little bit of a bare spot. There we go, just like that. And then of course maybe these twines that I've been pulling out, maybe I can pull them out a little bit more so they show up a bit more out back here. I think that's good. Okay, let me go ahead and finish off the other side by adding greens over here, and I'll be back. All right everyone, I have completed my project. This is a fall wreath for my mother-in-law's front door, and I completed it by adding the same green leaves that I have on one side over on the other side, and then I put a couple of big leaves up here just to fill in those little bare spots and balance out the green all over the wreath. Now the little twigs that I had pulled off on the sides here of my vine here, it doesn't show up too much, so I would want to pull them out a little bit more. But if I think about it, it's for my mother-in-law, and I feel like she would like things a little bit neater, and I don't want her, maybe opening the door and one of the twigs hitting her in the eye. So I'm just going to leave it as is and call it done. And absolutely, I think it's stunning. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. And it is very important also that you leave a nice comment down below and let me know what you think of my project. Will you be doing something similar? You can also follow me on my Tricia's Creations on Facebook, and please join there, like the page, and you are able to post pictures of your projects. If you want to leave comments about project ideas that you want to see me do, you could also send a message through there if you wish. All right everyone, I think that's it. Also, make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed, and then hit the little notification bell so that you'll be notified of when I put up videos, which is twice a week, you guys. I am tired and I am stumbling over my words. Forgive me. But also share on your social medias, guys. And that's it. So as always, enjoy.